Now, if you're looking for a larger tablet, there's probably never been a better time to get one than right now. You've got several options from Apple, Samsung, even Lenovo, and today we're comparing the new iPad Air 13-inch versus the Galaxy Tab S9 Plus from Samsung to see which is the bigger and better option. So let's go ahead and get started. Pricing for the Galaxy Tab normally starts at $999, but it's currently $899 on Samsung's website, and surprisingly, the iPad Air 13-inch is $100 cheaper at $799. One advantage for the iPad is you can go up to 1 terabyte for storage versus 512 for the Galaxy Tab. One advantage for Samsung is you can use a micro SD card for expanded storage where you don't have that option with the iPad. Screen sizes are going to be fairly similar between these two, with the iPad being a little bit wider with its 12.9-inch Liquid Retina IPS display versus a 12.4-inch Dynamic AMOLED 2X display on the Galaxy Tab. The iPad has a 60Hz refresh rate versus 120 for the Galaxy Tab. Both actually look really good in person, but when you set them next to each other, the Galaxy Tab does look a little more vibrant and seems to have a little better viewing angles. The iPad does seem to have a little more natural looking colors versus Samsung. You'll also notice the iPad has an anti-reflective coating, so it's not quite as glossy as the Galaxy Tab. But again, I think you only notice these things when they're right next to each other. I feel like the brightness of both are fairly similar as well. The iPad is a little bit heavier at 617 grams versus 581 for the Galaxy Tab. Although being bigger tablets, both are really thin. Surprisingly, I ran the same battery drain test on both tablets and they both lasted right at 7 hours at 100% screen brightness, so plenty of power to last you a couple days of mixed usage, even longer if you turn the screen brightness down. Also, you get up to 45 watt fast charging with Samsung versus 20 watts for the iPad Air. Software-wise, the Galaxy Tab is on Android 14, One UI 6.1 as of this video, and the iPad is on iPadOS 17.5.1. You'll be able to do a lot of the same things on both, but in a slightly different way. Nice thing is the Galaxy Tab, you can choose between button or swipe gestures for navigation. It just feels like you have a little more options on Samsung, but you also have Samsung Dex, which is nice if you want to be a little more productive. You can also switch between apps quickly using the taskbar on the Galaxy Tab or using Stage Manager on the iPad. Nice thing is they both have video out, so you can attach an HDMI adapter to connect either one to a projector, TV, or external monitor. The fingerprint scanners may be personal preference. I tend to lean towards having it located on the front of the screen, like with Samsung, versus on the power button for the iPad, but both are nice to have regardless of which one you decide to go with. The Galaxy Tab comes with an S Pen, but if you add the Apple Pencil Pro to the iPad, the overall cost is going to be about the same. For me, I tend to prefer the S Pen usually, but I have to admit, I like what they've added to the Apple Pencil Pro, where you can squeeze or double tap to access tools, and it seems like they've increased where you can use the pencil within the software, so you can't really go wrong with either one if you want to take notes, draw, or just move around the software. You'll also get at least 4 to 5 years of software support on both tablets, so it's going to be fairly close there. Obviously, with the iPad being slightly newer, it's going to have the advantage of having longer software support. Performance-wise is quite good on both tablets. You've got the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor in the Galaxy Tab versus the M2 chip in the iPad. You've got 8 GB of RAM in the iPad and 8 GB in the base model for the S9 Plus, but you can also get 12 GB of RAM for the Galaxy Tab as well. You should be able to do just about anything you would need to on both tablets, but the iPad is going to be a little more powerful. As you can see here by the Geekbench scores, also the iPad scored about double that of the Galaxy Tab in the 3D Mark Wildlife Extreme test as well. I feel like both of these are going to be some of the better options for gaming. Obviously, they're going to be a little bit harder to reach some things because of the bigger screens, but using a controller is probably the way to go on tablets like these. But if you want the tablet with better performance, you'll want to go with the iPad. As far as speakers go, you've got 2 speakers on each side for the Galaxy Tab, 1 speaker on each side for the iPad, even though it looks like 4. So not a huge surprise, but the Galaxy Tab is going to be quite a bit louder and sounds better overall, in my opinion, especially if you turn on Dolby Atmos. But here's a quick sample of each, just to give you an idea of what to expect.
But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away. As you fade away.
As far as cameras go, you've got a 13 megapixel wide angle on the back of the Galaxy Tab with an 8 megapixel ultra wide versus a 12 megapixel wide angle on the back of the iPad. Then you have a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera on the front of both tablets. You can also shoot up to 4K 30 frames per second on the Galaxy Tab for video recording, 4K 60 frames per second on the iPad. I think both are good options for Zoom meetings or other video conference calls, but here's a few samples of each just to give you an idea of what to expect. So overall, you have 2 good options regardless of which one you go with, but obviously there's a couple things that might sway you towards one or the other. I know if you told me I could only have one of these for the next 4 or 5 years, I would be happy with either one. If you like phones, tablets, and other tech, I've got a lot more stuff that I'm working on and quite a few more comparisons. So you'll want to keep an eye out for those upcoming videos. So if you've made it this far into the video, you may want to say thanks by subscribing, and don't forget to give a thumbs up if this video was helpful. This is Brian from Fishbee Productions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.